All right, Adam here. We're going to talk about the news from outside Spectrum Field, which is near, which used to be Bright House Field, I believe. This is where the Phillies do spring training in Clearwater, Florida. And I think it makes a pretty nice site right now. So there we go. Adam Taxin here in Clearwater, Florida on Facebook Live, which if it's halfway decent, I'll put on YouTube eventually, talking about the news of the day. Thanks those of you who tuned in this morning at the sunrise in Safety Harbor, not far from here. Also in Central Florida on the Gulf. Let's go through the big stories of the day. I encourage you all to comment on them, ask questions, whatever, especially later. But for now, I'm doing it live. It'll eventually go to YouTube. I will respond to comments, whatever. The whole point of this is to realize we're in 2017 and the news monopoly is broken. And therefore, you know, if you have a reasonably sharp guy who does his homework, edits well, you can do the equivalent of a news program, because I'm just doing this for my iPhone 6s Plus, and I think I can do it just pretty much as well as people who call themselves networks and people who actually are networks. But I definitely filter the information a little bit differently than those of you who I filter it differently than the main networks, the people you're going to get the information from, including Fox News, by the way. I'm just going to step back for a second in a minute or two, and just if someone could tell me that the sound and picture is okay, it would be appreciated. But for now, I'll tell you the lead story on Drudge, at least as of an hour or so ago, was that France quake. Le Pen rises, I will not submit. That's about the upcoming elections in a few months. And it looks like the same thing that happened over here in the U.S. is going to happen over there. People are a little fed up with the migration, to put it mildly, over there. And I think France has a little bit of a shorter fuse than maybe the people in Scandinavia. They're not as given into the ideals of liberalism, we'll put it that way. But going through the Gateway Pundit, which I use as my foundation source, there are the headlines since this morning. The first one after sunrise this morning was Obama appointed U.S. ambassador gives Make Somalia Great Again hat to Somalia's new president. And that was continuing from there. These were the other stories that have been reported through about midday today. Fake news. Trump never said there was a terror attack in Sweden. Liberal media made it up, and there's video with that. Priebus. Top intel officers say allegations of Trump campaign links to Russia complete garbage. And that's a video with that as well. Now this one has been updated since that. Coalition of Never Trumpers releases sordid Milo audio before CPAC conference. Now there's an update to that in that CPAC has disinvited Milo Yiannopoulos, and I'll get to that later. That's going to be the first story after I read them to you all. Also, Trump supporter Jean Huber breaks down talking about how his grandma saw him on TV before her death. And that's a video that's a reference to the rally on Friday in Melbourne, Florida. It was breaking, it no longer is. U.S. President Trump to speak at CPAC 2017 conference. That conference is taking place later this week. I believe it starts Friday. I won't be there. You can watch it on the internet, no doubt. I'd rather be in Florida. More recently, this was just reported in the last 2 or 3 hours, Fox anchor and elitist Chris Wallace warns Trump crossed the line in attack on media. And then the most recent story I have, courtesy of Gateway Pundit, is DHS is hiring 10,000 ICE agents as 350,000 illegals with deportation orders remain in the U.S. Let's go to the Milo story first. That seems to be the one that people are talking about the most right now. Here's my teleprompter. My old iPhone. I'm using my iPhone 6s Plus to film this. Now, the Milo story is these sordid stories. Milo is pretty openly gay and not the least bit restrained about it. He talks about in blatant detail about what he likes, and everyone who's minimally familiar with him knows about these kinds of things. But the guess there were things that touched the bare surface, if you want to interpret it that way, of pedophilia. But with all these things, I think it's important to go to the original sources. We like not filtering the news, don't we? So therefore, it's often better to go to the person in their own words. And I'm going to read you now what Milo Yiannopoulos said on Facebook. He called it, I like this, a note for idiots, updated. I do not support pedophilia, period. It is a vile and disgusting crime, perhaps the very worst. There are selectively edited videos doing the rounds as part of a coordinated effort to discredit me from establishment Republicans that suggest I am soft on the subject. If it somehow comes across through my own sloppy phrasing or through deceptive editing that I meant any of the ugly things alleged, let me set the record straight. I am completely disgusted by the abuse of children. Now, he makes a number of points, which I'm going to go through here. And it's important to hear him in his own words, as it would be for anyone, whether we agree with them or not. I'm against filtering of the news. I'm capable of my own original thought here. This is that I'm talking now. But I don't like to filter it as if things need to be interpreted. Sometimes people's words speak for themselves. So here are the facts that Milo Yiannopoulos asks us to consider. 1, I have outed 3 pedophiles in my career as a journalist. That's 3 more than any of my critics, and a peculiar strategy for a supposed pedophile apologist. He names them now. A is Luke Bogier, former business partner of Louise Mensch. B, Nicholas Nyberg, anti-Gamergate activist who self-described as a pedophile and white nationalist. C, Chris Layden, a London photographer who has a rape trial starting March 13th, thanks to my reporting. 2, I have repeatedly expressed disgust at pedophiles in my journalism. And all you have to do is go to Milo's Facebook page, Milo Yiannopoulos, Yiannapoulos. I have repeatedly expressed disgust at pedophiles in my journalism. 3, I have never defended and would never defend child abusers, as my reporting history shows. The world is messy and complicated, and I recognize it as such, as this furor demonstrates, but that is a red line for any decent person. By the way, I'm sure the Phillies are psyched that I'm doing this, but this is public property, I think. I just spent money in their gift shop. I got these, and these for that matter. 4, the videos do not show what people say they show. I did joke about giving better head as a result of clerical sexual abuse committed against me when I was a teen. If I chose to deal in an edgy way on an internet live stream with a crime I was the victim of, that's my prerogative. It's no different to gallows humor from AIDS sufferers. 5, National Review, whose journalists are tweeting about this, published an article defending Salon for giving a pedophile a platform. Now let me step back and explain. National Review was on that Never Trump bandwagon. They published a whole issue devoted to that, put it prominently on the cover. National Review was once more edgy under William Buckley. This is again my words, not Milo's. But they've really gone establishment. It's part of what a lot of people disparagingly refer to as Conservatism Inc., which a lot of people refer to CPAC as well, by the way, including the ACU. You can ask if you're familiar with Pamela Geller. She has some strong feelings about CPAC as well. They are a little reluctant to criticize a certain so-called religion. They don't go all the way a lot of the time, from what I understand. Going back to what Milo wrote. 6, I did say that there are relationships between younger men and older men that can help a young gay man escape from a lack of support or understanding at home. That's perfectly true, and every gay man knows it. But I was not talking about anything illegal, and I was not referring to prepubescent voice. 7, I said in the same Drunken Peasants podcast, from which the footage is taken, that I agree with the current age of consent. 8, I shouldn't have used the word boy when I talked about those relationships between older men and younger gay men. I was talking about my own relationship when I was 17 with a man who was 29. The age of consent in the UK is 16. That was a mistake. Gay men often use the word boy when they refer to consenting adults. I understand that heterosexual people might not know that, so it was a sloppy choice of words that I regret. And by the way, Milo's a better writer than a lot of people out there. He came to fame as editor of the Breitbart technology section. The guy knows how to write and edit very well. 9, this rush to judgment from establishment conservatives who hate Trump as much as they hate me before I have had any chance to provide context or a response is one of the big reasons gays vote Democrat. That's an interesting point, and I think it can be made broader than that. And there's a lot of people who try to be buttoned up who say things when they know they're not true. It's a lot of go along, get along, and I think that's probably particularly true in the Republican Party as well as with Democrats. I'll maybe talk more about that later, but I want to give you the last point Milo Yiannopoulos made in his defense of himself. 10, in case there is any lingering doubt, here's me in the same interview the other footage is taken from, affirming that the current legal age of consent is about right. There's what he says. And I think the law is probably about right. It's probably roughly the right age. I think it's probably about okay, but there are certainly people who are capable of giving consent at a younger age. I certainly consider myself to be one of them, people who were sexually active younger. I think it particularly happens in the gay world, by the way. But of course, that is because, as some would say, I think it was Gavin McInnes who once wrote, there's a value on female chastity that there isn't on male chastity. So that men are less inhibited about doing these things. The urges may be there on both sides, but when it's two males getting together, you don't have the maybe I shouldn't factor quite as much. I don't know, I'm straight. I've always been that way. I didn't have that much game when I was a teenager either. But these are interesting points from the surface. It seems like CPAC is doing what looks good rather than what is right. You invite someone, you're keeping them there. It's not like he was not upfront about his sex life to begin with. So this is just cheesy, and I think it's going to create a lot of negative feelings towards CPAC, which I am not going to, but not as a result of this. I never had any intention of going to it. There are certain things which are just as good to be watched on video, if I even watch it on video. You can get a transcript too, let's be honest here. Going through the other stories that I brought up earlier, this is courtesy of the Gateway Pundit. This one really catches my attention. Fake news. Trump never said there was a terror attack in Sweden. Liberal media made it up. And what Trump actually said was that this was in the Melbourne speech on Saturday. I think I said Friday before, but it was on Saturday. Trump said that they took in large numbers, this is Sweden, and are having problems they never thought possible. He didn't say terrorist attacks. That's his words right there, or essentially his words. And Gateway Pundit writes about it by saying, during his speech, President Trump referenced the situation in Sweden due to the tremendous influx of refugees. The media immediately pounded on President Trump. They ran attacks all day Sunday, claiming Trump said there was a terrorist attack in Sweden. Trump never said that. It was all made up, fake news. And again, this is why on this low budget, with my phone, with a $20 tripod, I can often provide you better coverage than, as a lot of people could, than what is known as the news. You can't lie about these things blatantly, which they did. They could have looked at his actual words. They didn't. So, you know, why not watch me, who's integrating the information, who's probably a more capable editor than a lot of people they have over there, and I'm giving you something nice to look at here, instead of me sitting at a desk, giving you a nice background, as I do with the sunset and the sunrise. So, part of why I'm doing this, besides I love doing it, and it's good to do what you love, and I think I can be successful at it, is that a point really needs to be made about the media. The technology has really grown in the last year that I can put this on Facebook Live, quickly transfer it to YouTube, but I can make a point about the main media. The information you're getting from me, I can be pretty confident is more worthwhile than a lot of the information you're getting out there. I don't claim it's my own. I don't claim I do the writing. I see so many people on Twitter, Facebook Live, bloggers, things, I guess post-bloggers like the Gateway Pundit. They're my writers. They're my writing team. I integrate it, I put it together, bring you what's worthwhile. But enough about me and what I'm trying to do. And I hope you're enjoying the view of formerly Bright House, now Spectrum Field, where the Phillies spring training is and where their minor league team, the Clearwater Thresher, also plays. I'm from the Philadelphia area. You may hear it in my voice, but that is where I grew up. I am a Phillies fan. We could talk about how professional sports probably takes on too much importance in people's lives. Yeah. Good point. I certainly wasted too much time, especially on the Phillies and Eagles, growing up. It might have been spent elsewhere, but it is what it is. It's nice to be here. The spring training, the players are actually here in the morning, so they're not here right now. It's not as crowded as it was this morning, probably, or as it will be tomorrow morning when I take some of this in. But I give you something to look at. Let's be realistic about what the news is and what it isn't today. You don't need to watch the news. You certainly don't need to watch it at a certain time. The information is all around you. Let's go to this story about the U.S. ambassador mocking Trump with the gift to Somalia's president. I found this funny, like the fact that you get an ambassadorship, it's not to Tahiti, it's not to Italy or someplace that would probably be one of the most desirable places. I'm not sure if Tahiti is its own country. I think it might be part of French Polynesia or something. But on Friday, the U.S. ambassador to Somalia, Stephen Schwartz, presented a gift to the new president of Somalia, a hat that reads, "Make Somalia Great Again." Now I'm guessing he is a career diplomat. That is not one you get rewarded with, Somalia. This is a Jewish guy, it's not even a black guy, not even an East African guy. Ambassador Schwartz, this was key, was appointed by former President Barack Obama and was sworn into his position in June 2016, according to the International Business Times. Again, these are the words of Gateway Pundit. Reactions to this gesture on Twitter were overwhelmingly negative because, let's face it, Somalia has never been great. I will say one thing about Somalia. That region, Somalia, Ethiopia, Yemen, is what brought us coffee. And a lot of us out there, I mean, yeah, it's a natural thing over there, but let's give a little bit of credit. Let's try to say something nice about Somalia, which is very much a basket case of a country, totally Muslim, by the way, now. But coffee is a very important part, and it originally was grown and cultivated over there. But back to what Jim Hoft at the Gateway Pundit writes. Reactions to this gesture on Twitter were overwhelmingly negative because, let's face it, Somalia has never been great. Somalia is on President Trump's travel ban list because of the overwhelming presence of Islamic terrorism within the country. The movie Black Hawk Down, which is based on the true story of the Battle of Mogadishu, also in Somalia, where American soldiers were killed. Now there are some fun comments, some of which may be predictable here. I left out the ones that, hey, I thought I was clever for a few seconds when I said Somalia was never great. But here are some more clever things that people say. Why fire him? Poor bugger has to live in Somalia. Just cancel his leave for the next 4 years. It looks like he is trying to get fired. Now this one's interesting, because there's a misconception. Stephen Schwartz is misspelled, and they put the 3 parentheses around it to show that he's Jewish. Do we know he's Jewish? By the way, Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator now for the Philadelphia Eagles, is not Jewish. And there are Schwartzes who are not Jewish, just for the record. It's not like Goldberg, where you can pretty much guess it. Certain names are more Jewish than Schwartz. It simply means black in Yiddish, or in German for that matter. But I lost my place here. Hold on. Okay, so this was kind of an ignorant comment. I'm going to read it and evaluate it. You don't get this on the news. Stephen Schwartz, the former Peace Corps volunteer and graduate of Miami University, may tell you he's white. Probably he means the University of Miami. That's usually what people mean when they say Miami University, even though there is a Miami University in Ohio. I don't know. But if you ever sneak into a synagogue on a Saturday morning and find Stephen, you're not going to find him. If he's a big liberal, you're not going to find him in the synagogue other than on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, maybe. That's generally the way it is, with exceptions. But people, as I made this point yesterday when I was in Hollywood, Florida, the people who go to synagogue on an average day just for the daily prayers are overwhelmingly pro-Trump, overwhelmingly conservative, overwhelmingly Republican, and probably 95% of the people who go to synagogue on a regular basis, on a daily basis, are Orthodox, as I am. Just a point I think you should know. You'll discover he considers himself not white and will deny ever talking with you, or if admitting talking with you, state that you misunderstood what he said. Obviously that comment was by someone who's not too big on Jews, and particularly liberal Jews, but you should be, if you're obsessed with Jews, be a little more informed about it. That's all I'm saying. Another comment, make Somalia Somalian again by sending its people back there from the United States. It's Somali, by the way, not Somalian. Another person writes, make Somalia great again by returning the 70,000 living in Minnesota. They can help their country to grow into a democracy and fight for religious freedom for Christians. Let me briefly go through the other stories. None of them are that important today. Are there any worthwhile comments? I don't think there was anything too important I need to go over. I'm keeping these short. I'm not going to try to fill up an hour and a half because I might be able to run more commercials on YouTube. That's not my goal. Priebus said the top intel officers say allegations of Trump campaign links to Russia are complete garbage. That was on Fox News yesterday. It's a Russian Today report, money quote of which is, I can assure you the top levels of the intelligence community have assured me that the allegation is not only greatly overstated, but also wrong. So that's a flat-out denial. That's a big word. That's not a Weasley lawyer word. That's all you really need to know about that. The sordid Milo video wasn't that sordid. This is a nice story. I'm just going to read you this. The words of Gateway Pundit again. Trump supporter Gene Huber breaks down talking about how his grandma saw him on TV before her death. So this guy, Gene Huber, was first online at the rally Saturday in Melbourne, Florida. Early in the day, the national media interviewed Gene, and he praised Trump. He said the media was against President Trump, but the people were standing with Trump. I went to a lot of Trump rallies from June to November. I'm familiar with this story. And frankly, often the people at the very front of the line, I wonder about them sometimes, but that's not important here. So Trump spotted Gene in the crowd and had him come up on stage. It was a terrific moment. His grandmother saw him on TV Saturday, and then she passed away on Monday. So that's kind of nice. And he got choked up as he told that story. I forgot who he told it to. Trump will be at CPAC. He's speaking Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I imagine that will be on a lot of networks. And a lot of people will put on YouTube. They'll probably steal others' videos, but it will be available if you want to see it. And you can watch it later. And he frequently spoke at CPAC over the last couple of years. So obviously it would look really bad if he didn't come to CPAC while he was president. But there is a never Trump element there. We'll see what happens. Here's a good point I do want to get into a little more depth. Fox anchor and elitist Chris Wallace warns Trump crossed the line in attack on media. Now, you've heard what I've been saying over these last few videos about the media. The monopoly's over. I don't know why Chris Wallace gets to be more of a gatekeeper. It's nice that he has the job in Fox. They have the nice studio. They can put a lot more into production. But who is he to say that Trump crossed the line? That's just my opinion. And especially in his case, because, you know, he may be a perfectly good reporter. I don't think he's anything special. He's okay. He's competent. But he's there because his father was Mike Wallace, who was a big deal. Formerly Mike Walachinsky sort of abandoned his Jewish roots. So, yeah, I do judge that to some extent. And then he named his kid Chris, which is always interesting when Jewish people do that. My view, I'm allowed to do it. I'm allowed to have it. But Mike Wallace, there's just an element of snobbery there. When, again, he wouldn't be where he is if it weren't for who his father was. So he said, let me get back to this, I gotta get the habit of using this. Sunglasses help, I can look down better, but I gotta get better at this. Okay, he crossed the line in attacking the left-wing media. What Chris Wallace actually said was, when he said that the fake news media is not my enemy, it is the enemy of the American people, I believe that crosses an important line. Well, those are strong words, but that's the Trump strong words thing that so many American voters responded to. Again, comment on here. Let me know you exist. Let me know anyone's watching and have opinions on these things. What Jim Hoft or whoever wrote this story was for Gateway Pundit. This guy is just as bad as the rest of the far left media. You must be disappointed that he's not on their invite list, whatever that means. Maybe he's trying to fill the Megyn Kelly role. I don't know. Maybe it's just his opinion. Maybe he didn't think it out. But really strong comments here. A guy named Doc Farmer, who seems to be the top commenter at the Gateway Pundit, however that is determined, he writes, Earth to Chris Wallace, you're a reporter commentator. You're not the embodiment of the First Amendment. Get over yourselves and start looking in the mirror with a critical eye for a change. Someone else writes, Wallace is a fool. Who even listens to this idiot? The First Amendment has zero to do with this debate. Lying media has everything to do with it. And of course, the First Amendment does mean putting restrictions on the government. It's not about what a private news organization does, just for the record. Someone else writes, Chris Wallace hasn't been outside the Beltway in years, except for the debates, and is definitely part of the swamp. I have to hand it to Pete Hegseth and Abby Huntsman for going out to real America to talk to real people. Someone else writes, oh wow, Chris Wallace called out Trump for stepping over the Chris Wallace imaginary line in the sand that no president can go behind. Please. Trump is the president, you're nothing more than some smart, snarky schmuck who does a dumb Sunday show that no one cares about. Do us all a favor, drop dead. Someone else writes, wasn't Chris Wallace's father, Mike Wallace, who I just mentioned, a left-wing liberal? If so, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Someone else writes, just what is CW, Chris Wallace, going to do about it? Whine? Draw another imaginary line? Someone else writes, what line would that be, Chris? The one that shows which pseudo-reporters create very fake news, including your own? Someone else writes, Wallace is just as guilty as that guy Maddow. He tries to hide it better, but fails. He took President Trump's comments personally, giving away his bias. Now, by the way, Rachel Maddow, I think, does make her bias perfectly clear, which is an interesting contrast. I'm not sure I even agree with that. Someone else writes, Trump stated the truth. The media is supposed to be on the side of the people. It is not. And the final comment related to this, which I think is very worthwhile, must drive Wallace and his keepers absolutely rabid that despite decades of indoctrination through biased news reporting and mainstream television shows, that indoctrination did not take in over half of the American people. The media has dropped any pretense of being anything but biased, and they are driving more moderate Democrats far and away from the left. The question is this: how bad is the media going to get before it implodes? And then the final story, the kind of story which is great because the headline really tells you what you need to know. DHS is hiring 10,000 ICE agents as 950,000 illegals with deportation orders remain in the U.S. And that's really all you need right now. I'm going to come back to you in a few hours with the sunset report. Thanks for watching. I'm still getting the hang of this. It will be good. In a few weeks, I'm really going to make this into something worth watching. Thanks for watching.